Hawks on the Wire is a podcast produced by Three Hawks Haven, an e-card company where love, kindness, and connection are designed in each e-card. The story you're about to hear, shared by Joan's guest, will be a story from someone's life, their personal experience. By learning from stories just like this, Three Hawks Haven is able to create beautiful and moving e-cards that can really touch someone's heart. In times of celebration or in the tougher times of life, Three Hawks Haven has e-cards for most any occasion, including some you just can't find anywhere else. You can shop for all their e-cards by going to their website, threehawkshaven.com. Now to Hawks on the Wire with your host, Joan.
Hi, this is Joan, and welcome to Hawks on the Wire. And we have a very special guest today, Zack Orwick. Zack is a cloud-based website developer, and he's very special to the Hawks as he did develop our website, Three Hawks Haven. And today he's going to give us some insight into what I call a life as an IT man. And I'm just really excited to have you here, Zack. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joan. I appreciate you having me on, and it's great to finally be on one of these episodes. I'm looking forward to it. You
Uh,
doing okay?
I'm doing great. Yes, yes. I've been looking forward to this too. I think a lot of people, we kind of want to know, if you don't really know an IT person, a technology person, you don't really know what they do through the day. So we're going to kind of paint the picture a little bit for our folks. Um, so tell me, how did you get into it? Why website development? What started all that?
So that's a great question, Joan. So, basically when I was young, I basically, my dad kind of, pushed me into this field. When I was in the fifth or sixth grade, I got my first computer and, I basically started playing games. I said, Dad, I want to play this game. I want to play this game. And, my dad's always been a massive, figure in my life and in supporting, my career technology. And obviously he did it from an early age. I got my first computer and, I said, okay, well, let's play games on this. And the next thing that, that happens is, oh, my game won't play, whether it's, lack of internet or, lack of, power, all the different things that could happen. So, that's kind of where it started. And, from there, when your game doesn't work and you're a kid, I mean, you got to figure it out, and that's kind of how I got into it and really started to enjoy it was I said, okay, well, it's stemming from a gaming experience, which I like to do is kind of relaxing, stress relief type thing. And then it turned into, oh, now I can rewire the entire house, maybe drive my mother, crazy in the process. And then that's where it really started, and it transpired all the way to high school. Got into, basically took my hardware networking knowledge, to the next level. I got a job at, a place called the Computer Repair Place, believe it or not. Most generic name of a place, but I learned more there than I think anywhere else. Got in there, was, dealing front facing with customers and replacing hard drives, basically anything in a computer we replaced. And then, that taught me a lot. That pushed me into, college where I was, a computer information systems degree. And, from there, I basically took all that knowledge, started building websites for my dad and companies that he had, learned that I was good at a thing called SEO down the road, which really is how you rank on Google and how you can make extra sales, in a free, non-paid setting. And, from there, I started building software and I learned everything from the ground up. So that's kind of the short story of how I got, kind of to where I am today.
All of it kind of in a nutshell. Well, that's kind of amazing to me because it didn't really occur to you to take your computer to somebody else. Like when you were a kid in the fifth grade, you just decided you were going to fix it yourself, huh?
That's a really good question. I mean, I, never thought about it that way. For me, I guess, I had always been building, strange, my parents call it contraptions and, small things. I was always encouraged to do, engineering type things when I was young, whether I realized it, and I'm really just realizing it today and now. So that's a really good question. But yeah, I never thought to take it to anyone else. My first thought was, I've always been kind of self-driven. If it's fix it, let me, if it needs to be fixed, let me fix it myself. And that's really what kind of inspired it. That's actually quite interesting. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes. Well, and you really enjoyed the games, you said too, that you were playing on the computer, and that kind of
Well, I
motivated
guess
you.
absolutely. I'd even say it's maybe a lack of patience and you're not wanting to get back to the game that kind of caused me to say, hey, I'm not going to wait on somebody else, or maybe I didn't have the funds to pay someone else.
Mhm.
But I guess that's really where I did dive in. That is at the granular level. That's where I went in.
Yes. And I think you had mentioned that you grew up in printing and graphic company that your dad had, correct?
Correct. My dad has owned a printing company here in Lexington for 25 years.
Okay. So some of that, the background that your dad had probably helped you too, I guess.
You know, it did in a sense. I mean, he is he always said, okay, well, Zach seems to be interested in computers and games, so let's start him here. And then really when I'll tell you, the printing and the marketing, expertise and stuff really started to show was when, I always knew he was a good sales guy. I knew he was a great business guy. He always, made stuff happen for us and gave me the opportunities that I have today. But, until I got to college and he said, I want to give you a shot to make some extra money. You're working hard at a degree that takes a lot of time. And I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. But, he basically said, I want you to rebuild my website. I want you to manage it. And then, I want you to help with our, what we call print systems at Elite, where, I set them up and it's kind of like a content management platform, kind of like what we built for you all. And you basically let customers, each have their own portal and, order online. So that helped build the business, and it became something that today is used every day by many customers. I learned that, hey, when I built this website, I did a good enough job to where it ranked on Google. And he said, oh, wow, leads are coming through this. I've never seen this before, right? Because it was brand new. And then at that point, I said, okay, well, wow, I might have a thing for this marketing thing. And, really, that's kind of when everything took off, started doing, print sales, learned design to do it myself. I made so many mailers and designed so many, just to try to, make extra money and to, further my career. And really that all started really at the end of high school, beginning of college. And, he let me take that to the next level. And that's really when that kicked in.
Okay, I got it. And something that you taught me, like when now, of course, you have your career as your website developer, but I had not realized that, you needed to know about marketing and you needed to know about demographics. You needed to learn about the person that you're building this website for.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, what I really came to realize is once I started building these websites, Joan, especially, building it for a printing site, right? I mean, everybody kind of needs a business card at some point and stuff like that. And, once you start driving leads, you start to get into the data and, you kind of nerd out, if you'll have it. But, basically what happened, I started looking at the data and I said, oh, wow, we could be doing even more and more and more. And, so then I started optimizing. I started realizing, okay, great. I got us on the first page. I got us here and there. But, the people coming to the site, maybe they're dropping off. Maybe they had a problem with the experience, just the data all added up. And then once I started realizing that, I said, okay, this is how you take it to the next level. You say, okay, you really have to understand who you're targeting, which a lot of the times we found is, 40 to 50-year-old women, people in marketing, people who run, marketing departments, who are in charge of purchasing, things like that. So once that kind of clicked in my head, I said, okay, well, we have more websites we have to build. We've got more clients coming in. We really got to target and really figure out what that product is or what that service is that the company is selling. And, in your case, I mean, it's content, it's an experience, it's good feelings, bad feelings. And I mean, that's tell you the best thing that, that happened to me in the course of our, relationship was, when, my pet passed away. And, I never realized, sitting behind the computer for so long, that basically, in building this software and looking at it, for all that countless hours that's gone into it, to actually get the e-card on the receiving end, was a completely different experience, and it's times like that, you got to take a step back and say, wow, that's the demographic. I am the demographic, and that, helped me, push it even, forward even more. But that was the pivotal moment too, that, this just shows you, I kind of learn every day, that there's a new thing. You always got to be looking out for who the customer is, and, never judge a book by its cover, because you don't really know who the customer is until you start to find them. And I realized I was a customer, and I'm glad that I am now, because that was a great experience,
Oh, that's wonderful. We do have beautiful e-cars, and for all different occasions, including pets that have passed. And they mean so much to us, you know, and I know you understand that with the loss of your pet. And I'm glad it helped. I'm glad it helped, Zach, the e-card.
And it was, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, it was very uplifting. I mean, you guys are always, the best, and I appreciate you guys. But, it kind of showed me, I'm like, wow, just when you think you figured out the demographic, you just haven't, so it's a constant learning experience, to go back to your question. And, it's something that you learn every day, and you really got to take a step back and say, who is this target customer before you can really, build something that really reaches that person, if that helps and makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. There's a lot to the whole process. And I've learned a lot too. And just talking with you today, it helps all of us. And I know
Oh, absolutely.
you were talking, when we talked earlier, you were talking about how you do have to reach out to like global contacts to help you develop these websites. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Joan, that is the most important and probably one of the most overlooked things today, is that, at the front of every project, there's going to be a guy like me, or, there's going to be somebody that, really helps push the marketing in the right direction. I mean, a project manager, if you will. But at the end of the day, to make things price effective, especially for new businesses, you have to be able to, work with overseas teams and, really, get to learn those people, because, money is different and its value different all over the world. So, you could get a better deal going overseas with things. Sometimes I found it's better, for different parts of software and marketing, it's better to do it in the States. But, we try to offer the best deal that we can to everybody. So to do that, I've had to reach out overseas and make connections out there, India, Pakistan, China, Philippines is one that was interesting. My dad had a call center business at one time. It really kind of got me into that. And, just doing that, I've met so many great people along the way that, today I still talk to, and they help me get all these projects done. I mean, I don't like to make it look like I'm the only guy there, but there's always people helping and working around the clock to get stuff done. So, you always got to think about those guys. And it's really taught me a lot about language barriers and, basically how to communicate with these people, because every culture is different. I mean, some people very to the point, some not. But that is probably the most pivotal thing that I've learned in this entire process of my career.
And when you say a better deal, are you talking about like a monetary better deal for what you get for your money, or quality, or both? What does that mean?
For both. So, what I found, it's kind of, we'll make it just for simplicity's sake, it's two-faceted. So at the end of the day, if I want to come back and, I've worked at multiple large software firms. I mean, I work at, Lexmark International right now, which is one of the, they got people all over the world. I've worked for so many different places, and to see the pricing that comes out of these places is kind of crazy. I mean, I remember, I had 3 deals that went on Shark Tank that I didn't capitalize on, and someone else ended up doing it. And, they ran off with
Shark Tank
3 software.
You talking about Shark?
Yeah, the TV show.
Mm-hmm. And what happened?
Yeah, so the TV.
What happened? You had 3 deals, and what happened?
Yeah, so I don't even know if I had told you this part up until now, but, I try to, inadvertently wipe this from my memory, because, I mean, 3 software ideas that I had almost verbatim went on to Shark Tank, the TV show where you pitch the 5 guys, or the women in there involved as well. And, basically they had my idea. I just didn't jump on it fast enough, or didn't have the experience at the time, but I had 3 ideas run away from me. So, there's nothing like that kind of says, hey, kick it into gear. But, basically in terms of a better deal, one, I really like working with people overseas, because no matter what you pay, they always work hard. I mean, they always, like for example, this morning, there was an art job, a design job that we had to do, and the market was just missed. I mean, obviously there was some kind of miscommunication on that. We're going to correct it. And I said, man, if you would help me out this morning, you would be my savior. And, basically he did it in 3 or 4 hours, killed it, and everything's all good now. So I can really rely on them as part one. Part two is the financial value. So, I mean, like being in all those large software firms, I mean, if I would have, came out and said, okay, well, let's quote this one project. I mean, a lot of the projects I quote would be 3 or 4 times as much if I couldn't put some of the other work over there, overseas, to do the security, in the States, do the stuff that really needs to be here in the States. But, a lot of, I mean, there's talented people all over the world, and why not take, why not give everybody the best of both worlds, I guess is what I'm saying. You see what I mean?
I do. And, that's a wonderful thing to me about technology, is how we can reach out to people all around the world. It's just amazing. And
It's crazy.
what about the time, Zach? I mean, you're here, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it might be nighttime with them. What do they do
Yeah.
about that?
What do they do about that, you said?
Yeah. How does that work?
So usually there's two scenarios that I've found, and I mean, I'm starting to see a third one that's, somewhat concerning, but it just shows it's testament more so to their hard work. But, the first one that you'll normally find is that, if they're working for, let's use India as an example, because that's the one that I'm most familiar with. But, a lot of the times, companies will hire firms over in India. And basically what they'll do is that those firms only target U.S. companies. And when you do that, they basically will flip the hours that we're used to. So they'll work all night and we'll work, all night in terms of our time. And then, we'll work all day. And then it's kind of like people are working around the clock. And then you got option two. Option two is, they kind of, are all over the place. And, sometimes they'll start, maybe 12 o'clock, our time, Eastern Standard, and they may finish at 10 or maybe, midnight. And it kind of be a half and half. So at least that they're there if you need them for a certain amount of time, then they can work and get stuff done. And then, the third situation is the people who don't sleep, which you're going to find in software and technology all the time, myself included. They work all the time. You need them, they're there, they jump in, they help you. And they're always knocking it out, and it's a testament to them. So that's usually the three that I've found.
Yes. And you told me that these people felt like we're talking about India, what good hard workers they are. And also you said sometimes they will say they have holiday. I think you were talking about that, which is a little bit different for us.
It is. And it's a very interesting thing, and it's kind of, they laugh about it, so I laugh about it kind of thing. But they'll say, and I don't blame them, but, they have sports days, which to me, I still don't know what that one is. I think, I'm all for getting your time off. You need your mental health days. You need to take care of yourself. But, you got sports days. They've got a lot of, traditional religious holidays. They've got stuff that kind of falls, all over the map in terms of their holidays. And then, basically of how hard of a work ethic most of these people have, they work every day. And I found that most of the time they don't see weekends as weekends like we see them. They see it as, every day is a day. And, I may have a holiday on a Tuesday, I may have one on a Friday, but I'm going to make up that day on Saturday and Sunday. So they have some more interesting ones that, I would encourage people to look into and, to see. But, we have our holidays just like they have theirs, and they just are kind of a more work hard culture. And, then they take their days, and that's how they do it.
It sounds like it. They take their days, but they do get the job done.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what you're going to find in this field is that as long as you get the job done, there's not many people or employers that complain that, that's not going to work for me. They work hard. They work hard.
Mm-hmm. I understand. That's really good. And you talk like they become friends of yours, really, even though they're like, global, and you see each other and you talk to each other, but you don't really get to visit each other physically, but you're still friends, huh?
That is the best part, Joan. I mean, and you'd like to see him, and eventually every now and again you get to travel and you get to see him. But, I've got a great friend at Lexmark, and, we won't say his, I mean, I guess it's okay if we say his name, Sandeep, very nice guy. One of the smartest guys I've ever met. Never actually met him in person. But, every time I say, Sandeep, man, I got a question on this thing. I mean, he is an all-around expert, and he's always there. I mean, he's always super helpful. And they're a culture of education, right? And they like to help each other. They like to pass it down. They're going to work you. I mean, they're going to work you to the, the nail and bone. But, they're going to get it done for you, and they're going to help you. And I mean, every time I ask for help, he's there for me. And every time, he asks me for help, I'm there in return. And that way we built a relationship, and it just kind of shows that, it doesn't really matter where you're at, who you are, anything like that. As long as you work as a team and you make stuff happen, I mean, you don't even realize that, they're halfway around the world, which I think is just amazing.
That is amazing. I just love that. I love how you report how well you work together and how committed you all are. I love that.
It's great. I appreciate it.
I have a question about, so a lot of people, how sometimes we'll put each other in boxes, and a lot of people will look at what we call an IT person and call them a geek or a nerd. And I wanted to know what you thought about those terms, Zach.
So, it's a funny question because I might actually be, I take it in a more endearing way, because I think that if you say geek or nerd, really the term for computer people is geek, and the term for more of a book smart person is a nerd. But in reality, you really have to be the nerd before you can be the geek in this field. So most people always end up being both, myself included. I always see it as a positive thing, because you got to be smart to do both of those things, or to be called that, or to be looked at that. So
Absolutely.
I find it just interesting, the terms that people come up with. I think that's the funny part and the great part.
And it is a compliment, isn't it? I totally agree with you.
I think it's great. I don't think that there's a way you could really take it negative, but I think that, I always take it as a sign of endearment.
So do you mind telling us how old you are, Zach?
Yeah, so I am 26 years old.
Yes, and you have just accomplished amazing things. I just want you to know that. I just think that you are. Well, I call you awesome IT man. And what do you think is your greatest accomplishment so far?
So this is a tricky one, because I feel like I've done a lot in my years so far. And I'm kind of a workaholic, and I like to try to move fast and really learn as much as I can. But I would say that my greatest accomplishment was probably getting the job at Lexmark International that I have now, along with just working and being able to balance the life of a marketer engineer, because there's not many of us. Most people stick with one or the other, but I kind of like to do a little bit of everything. So really, I would say Lexmark's probably the biggest, because I'm the youngest guy around me by really in my specific part of where I work by 5 or 10 years, and I found that at every job I've been at so far. I'm always the youngest by 5 at least years.
Well, and I believe you there if you're only 26. And tell our listeners, what is Lexmark Company?
So Lexmark International is, for the last 20 years, they basically started off as a branch of IBM here in Lexington, and they grew out of that, and sales happened, transitions happened, and they became Lexmark, which has been everything from an inkjet printer company, which is now no longer, to a laser printer company, which it is still today. And they're slowly coining, since I've been there the last 2 or 3 years, to become a software company, which it is becoming, because you got to think about it, with all the devices out there, Joan. There's millions of printers and all the different things that are out there. And as we venture farther into it, basically Microsoft, which is one of the partners now, and Microsoft Azure, who also powers your site, that's pretty powerful. They're all over. Lexmark's completely migrated over there now, and Lexmark was actually requested to come talk as one of the IoT leaders in the industry. So basically IoT is all the sub devices and communicating back and forth with millions of devices every day, and it could be so many times, and so many different things go into it. But Microsoft was talking to the heads at Lexmark and said, you already have millions of devices out in the field, and if you're going to roll this out, we'd like you to come talk, because you might be our bigger provider on the platform. And to think a company that started out in Lexington, Kentucky, might be Microsoft's biggest provider, that to me, I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Very good. And what do you see in your future? You're so young. Do you have, if we could wave a magic wand or have this ideal dream job for you, Zach? I know you talked to me earlier. I'm kind of adding this in, but your mom had really inspired you with a job that she took on. And if you could talk about that a little bit, and then maybe incorporate thoughts of what you might do.
Absolutely. I think this is, my parents are both great. They played pivotal roles, but they played them in completely different sectors of my life, which I like to think is the normal. But, my dad kind of showed me the marketing, and he showed me, sales, and he showed me, how to build a business, all kinds of different stuff like that. But my mom, she really said, here's the reasoning for it. So, she had a company, and it was called Cascades of the Bluegrass. And if you want to, the name never made sense to me, but it was always, the purpose more so than the marketing in that business. But basically what she did was, there was a program out there, and there still is today. And she's no longer with it, but she still would be if it made sense. So basically what she did is, imagine if you are, a single mother, right? Or, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios you could be in to qualify for this program. But essentially what happens is, if you have a kid and, you still got to go to work every day, you got to pay, you got to pay the babysitter, you got to pay, all the people around you for the medications. You got to pay for all these things for, especially if your child is an individual with a disability, which almost all of my mom's, clients were, you still got to take care of those kids, and you still got to work. So it's a tough situation. And the government will actually, pay, companies like the one my mom had to come in so much per hour to take care of these kids, which I think is great. And, there's no, kids with, individuals with disabilities are some of the greatest people on the planet. They are amazing people. I've never met one that was not, the best person you've ever met. They always infatuate with you. They always love you. They're always great people to everybody. So, my mom would come in and, she would basically hire the caretakers, get paid by the government with this program. And, they would basically teach the client care holders, if you will, CPR, how to give them their medications, tailored to that person. And then they would also get paid as well. So it was a win-win-win. But, essentially she had a software built that, helped run the whole company. And, essentially that's where I met my mentor. His name was Billy. And he kind of got me into all this. And I was telling you the other day, but, he got me into everything that I know today. Without him, I may not be here on the phone today. But, moral of the story is that software, got me into everything that I do. And it kind of said, hey, if you're going to build something, build it for a reason. And to me, software is always software. If you go and you build it for a printer, or if you build it for, ECards or wherever you build it, it's all kind of the same. It may work a little different, but, my dream would really be to take that knowledge and apply it to something that matters, like, the individual with disabilities, and something that, really helps people. Because at the end of the day, you love printers, you love all these things, but you really want to help people. That's what I want, at least. And that's what you want. And I think that's kind of where we get along a lot. But, that's really what I want to do. That would be my dream, is, to work for, a software company, helping develop things that, have an impact on people's day-to-day lives. And that would be my dream. And I don't necessarily have a specific place to tell you, but, anywhere in that field would be my ideal dream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's excellent, Zach. Well, and you've got plenty of time, my dear. That's just it's a wonderful dream. It's always, you had said that really that's what you want. You want to be able to help people. And I love that.
Because software is great. You can make a lot of money if you want. You can make a big difference if you want. You can really change the way that, everything around you that you use on a daily basis from your phone. You can change, and I could build an app tomorrow that helps, somebody, live their life a little bit better. That makes it easier to sleep at night. So, stuff like that, that would be the dream. And I'm pretty flexible on, where that is. So, if you have any suggestions on where to go, I'm all for that. But, that would be my dream. Just to give back in that way. Or, I'd even be open to trying to, build a big software company and, make the money to really then give it back. Either way, two scenarios like that, those would be my two dreams right there.
Well, again, I wish you the best, and you will do it. And
I'm going to do it.
Before we end, I would love to know, what would you tell like a fifth grader today, or a teenager, or maybe even somebody that just is older and wants to change their career and they want to go into, website development? Have you got any kind of advice or tips?
It's very funny because, I just had this situation happen with a lady that I actually, saw today. And, my parents were talking about, maybe hiring her to do stuff. But, she actually reached out to me. And, she worked in one of the marketing companies that I used to work at. And, she didn't really work directly with me on a day-to-day basis. But, she essentially, I always try to be good to people because it always comes back around. But, I would always help her with her IT. And it was not, what's the word? We weren't best friends or anything like that. But I was, always nice. She was always good to me, and I always helped her. So, she came back and, she, lost her job and stuff had happened. But, she came back to me and said, Zach, she reached out to me on Facebook and said, I'm really thinking about, I've got a career change and I'm trying to get into, I'm thinking software and technology would make sense. I've always seen the stuff that you did when you worked here. And, that's something that I think would be interesting to me, which one was, a good heartfelt message. But two, what I told her is I kind of said, one, I'll help you in any way that I can. You always got to help the good people in the world. One. So the other thing I told her, I said, prepare for a long journey, because you're it took me 2 or 4 years of just constantly doing this every day to really get to the point that I was at. And, I said, if you're ready to do that, then let's do it. And I'll help you the entire way, and we'll make it happen. But my advice was, you know, I never recommend a full 4-year degree unless that's just the kind of person you are and that's what you want. But, most of the time it's about, having something to just say, hey, to an employer, hey, I don't really have all the experience yet, but I want to get in there. So I always recommend a 2-year degree first, because you can always take those like at community colleges, and then really, get a better deal going to full college. So I always recommend to start there. And you're going to watch the industry change over the next, 5-10 years. They may not require it at all, and it may start soon. But I said start there. And then the most important thing that happened for me was, just work your butt off and basically, build side projects. Go out there and say, hey, is there a problem? Can I solve it? And then really teach yourself, because the number one thing that I've learned is teach yourself everything, because, you can't rely on everyone else to teach you all the time. And, when I actually, applied to Lexmark and I got the job, I mean, I was told that, really, I mean, I was going to get outbeat by several people in terms of just technical knowledge, because they may never leave the computer screen, but they said, Zach, we want, you, because we believe you're going to make it happen. You're going to figure it out. So what I would tell people, just to sum it up, is, always go out there, figure it out for yourself, find a good mentor that'll, kind of push you in the right direction, but won't tell you everything, and then kind of makes you work for it. Yes. And then, if you figure it out, they will always hire you. I mean, that is the number one thing that's gotten me every job that I've had to date. It got me any kind of side gig. So just being able to make it happen and be confident in yourself, really, really kind of, figure it out, do projects, do whatever you can to get some real world experience. And that's going to go so far for you. And if you just do those things, I mean, you'll get any job that you could possibly want. But that's kind of how I would recommend and go about it.
That's great advice. And, yesterday evening, I was at a little kindergarten graduation ceremony. And, well, you wouldn't be amazed, but I was amazed at how many of those little 5-year-olds, they got awards for their computer abilities. I mean, they are on the computer, and the teacher even said sometimes she had to go look up a little something because she wasn't quite sure how to answer some of their questions. And I think, whoa. I just think that we're kind of naturally inclined towards the technology, most of us.
That's amazing.
I know. I just wanted to let you know that, because I know you work with these little kids. 5 years old, Zach, maybe 6. They're going to be first graders, but they were getting.
I thought I started early.
Well,
wow.
But I want to thank you, Zach. It's just been wonderful talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I'm here with you, Joan, is a good time. So, I mean, I appreciate you having me, and anytime you want to talk, I'm always here for you, and I appreciate you having me on. It's a good time.
Thank you. It's just been great. And I want to thank our listeners too, for joining us again. It's just so good to be with our listeners. And please
get into technology.
Yeah,
we need more of them.
I think so. Absolutely. And please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and we'd love for you to come back and visit with us. And if you've got a story you want to share with the Hawks, please go to 3hawkshaven.com and Hawks on the Wire page and send us your email. You'll see our beautiful website that Zach has developed, and you might have a great story. We would love to hear it. Thank you so much.